back again. We've got a System 16 this time, and I'll apologise for having this, like having my channel as having no videos, but I really have just not seen the point recently. I've not had anything really interesting going on, and there's nothing really much, and I don't have much motivation nowadays to do it so much. Anyway, I digress. We've got a System 16. This is eSWAT. Don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it is eSWAT. And I've got a load of parts out, and what I've been basically doing is trying to figure out why this still doesn't work. So the story goes, the original thing is I bought this, I repaired this part of the PCB, there was a couple of traces torn and broken there, so I've patched those up. When I got that, it still didn't do anything, still didn't boot, didn't do it much. And I just tried a very basic testing and then basically put it away for ages. I did another bit of testing after I got this out. This is a M68K CPU. It's from a Mega Drive, so it's the 8 MHz version. In a Mega Drive it doesn't run at 8 MHz exactly. It runs at like 7.9 or 7.6 depending on the region. It actually comes from this Mega Drive. And I'm not going to go into too much detail what the hell's going on, but this is no longer a Mega Drive. So this is basically the processor from it. And this Mega Drive didn't work, so I thought I'd rip this out and see if it worked. And apparently it doesn't. I'll get onto that in a minute. So yeah, what I've been doing is trying to see if this will work and whatever, trying to get any different combination. And I had an idea today, because I've not been able to do much with this because I don't have a Logic Probe or a oscilloscope or anything, and I haven't been bothered to buy myself one. So if I've not been bothered to buy myself one, why didn't I just program with an Arduino? Well, I'm not programmed an oscilloscope or anything. All this does is it's basically got a loop on it, and the loop does every 60,000 passes through the loop, it'll count if you've gone from being high to low, and if you have, it'll store it in a counter, and after the end of the 60,000 cycles, it then print it out via the serial port or this USB port, and then that'll tell me exactly how many times it's counted the thing going low. Now, it's not like I can get it to read clock speeds or anything like that. It's just literally to tell me, is there something happening and what's going on with it, just simple things like that. I mean, it probably could do something like clock speed, but as far as I'm aware, the Arduino just does not go fast enough. This is only 16 MHz total speed, and then you've got programming delays and all that. I'm not going to go into details, but this board, as far as I know, runs at 20-25 MHz, so, not going to happen, and there's probably dividers and all that. Anyway, I digress. Basically, I've been using this logic analyzer or logic probe or whatever, pulse counter, whatever you want to call it. Been measuring around the board, and what I've basically done is measured all the RAM, CPUs, and all that. And basically, to give you an idea of what it's doing, if I turn it on, so you can hear that from the speaker. Board's on, just doesn't do anything. Not got video hooked up because I know video doesn't come out. So nothing comes out, and I've really been annoyed about it. And I've basically going through, I checked the Z80, because, Z80 is connected to the YM2151 chip, which is the FM sound generator, and it's also connected to the D7759C ADPCM voice synthesizer. And, that's working. It's got data going in, coming out. Well, as far as my analyzer is saying, it's basically the pins on this are actually active, they're doing something. And I checked the relevant ROM, IC8 here, which is a 27C256 ROM, and that's got stuff going on, that's coming in, out, and all that. All these, no, I've not tested all the mask ROMs, but the mask ROMs are doing stuff, they are getting read and all that. This is working, this oscillator, and so does this whole circuit. Basically, ROM board seems to be fine. So I measured so I tried that, it all seems good, the clock's getting to it, the data's coming in and out. I've under here though, right, get this off, it's another nice thing. I know the System 16 cards are absolute pains to get off, and I know they're not really supposed to come off, but why could you not use something other than this really awkward connector? And I've got to be careful because obviously it's already broken once, this PCB which holds the ROM boards, probably due to neglect or just ill storing. Move that to the side. Here's our graphics section, or what I think is the graphics, because you've got loads of RAM chips about, so say the custom IC, the video comes into the chip, so I'd assume this is the graphics chip, so that might be something else related, I don't know. This is working fine, it's reading and writing to the RAM, it's got clock going into it. This is working, it's reading and writing to the RAM, got the clock going into it. What else was there? And yeah, that pretty much leaves me up to the CPU. The CPU is doing something interesting. It's working, but it only works in a very short pulse. So the first second of it activating, it pretty much crashes after a sec. It just pretty much crashes. I don't know if I've still got the details. Not that I'll help anyone, but just to give an example. Alright, so here's my logic analyzer using. This is termite, and this is printing out what was last written. So it comes up saying 117, and that's reading the address 0 pin, which is the first bit of the address. No, that's that's data. Sorry, so it's reading bit 1 of the data. Sorry, bit 0 of the data. It's coming out as 117. So it is trying to do something. It's trying to do something, but then it immediately crashes. I've also measured these ROMs here, the high and low program ROMs. These are the 27C 2001s, and these are custom ones. These have been written by what's his name? I've got it about somewhere. His name's Phil, and he's on the what's his name? He's on the Jammer Plus forums. What is it? I'll just Morris, Phil Morris. Anyway, these are basically non-security. And then the decoded versions of the CPU ROMs. The originals are here. Got the what is this? The low chip and the high chips, IC1 and 2. These, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter which one you put in. It doesn't make a difference at all. What one you put in. And I know the first thing that people are going to be screaming is you cannot use a Hitachi CPU when you're using the cracked ROMs. I know. That's what this was for. This does even less than that. That's why I think this is dead. Probably because when I was trying to remove it, I probably damaged it permanently. The CPU does even less. It just doesn't even read the data lines. This at least does, but just crashes. I measured the RAM. It's doing the same thing. It gets written. I think it gets read or written to. I don't know the exact terms, the exact details, but it does get read and written to. But then it just crashes or just stops. And it's almost like the CPU just cannot load data, because doing a bit of research, the Mega Drive is very heavily based on the System 16 board, to the extent that the architecture is very similar, or practically same. 68K CPU, 7 Zilog Z80 CPU there, 2612 watt Yamaha FM chip, RAM, system controllers, and then you've got a master system on the chip there. I've been reading this. Measuring this as a sort of comparison, and the data 0 line of this just sparks straight into life when you turn it on, when you're trying to read like Street Fighter or whatever. This turns on, does something, and then just dies and just doesn't even bother. So it pretty much crashes. And like I said, this does even less. So I'm wondering if this is possibly faulty, because like I say, it doesn't make a difference. And even though the battery reads about 3 volts, it could still be faulty. I'm just wondering, is there anything else that this sounds like? Because, I've tried all this. A couple of these chips do get quite warm, but after comparing it to the Mega Drive over there, I suppose it's, to be expected. The RAM chips over here, they do get pretty warm, but they're RAM. The PAL, I think it's PAL logic here, gets quite warm. The YM chip gets very hot, but then again, I checked it on the Mega Drive, it gets quite warm on that as well, so... I mean, literally all I'm going to do is get another one of these Hitachi CPUs, another 8 MHz version, just because it's the cheapest, because I don't want to spend too much money on this, because, I've already spent a bit more than I wanted to, and I just don't want to keep buying stuff and just finding it doesn't work, but I've already got a CPU on order, hopefully I can get it in and test it. I mean, But is there anything else I should know? You know, I've checked everything else, all the caps are brand new, nothing's leaked. The only thing I haven't changed is that super cap, but I assume that's for high scores or something like that. So, yeah, any ideas or info or advice or whatever would be really handy. So, if you have anything you know, just put it in the comments, or otherwise can you contact me about it, because I'm really annoyed about this board. Oh well, thank you for watching.